What's up, everybody? So a little break from the Can-Am and the F100. I'm still in the midst of doing projects on those two things, but when you have multiple projects going at all times, you tend to get distracted and you start prioritizing, and that's kind of how I do it. So my good buddy Rod was in town this weekend for Christmas and New Year's, and if you've been watching the channel for any amount of time, you know he's the guy that shot my Charger, and he was in the paint and body business for 45 years, something like that. True professional, one of the last great craftsmen of our time. He's not dead or anything. He's a good guy, and he's still very active. But I always try to just get as much knowledge from him as I can when he's home, or when I go out to his house, which is quite often in Arizona. But cutting and buffing, a lot like doing electrical on a car, is one thing that scares people. And frankly, to be honest, it scared me too. It takes so much effort to get a sheet metal done, and then floated, and then laser straight, and then once you spray it, you're committed. And I'm not sure if you bought paint recently, but paint is really expensive, and it's gone up crazy in the last couple years. So that's if you're buying good paint, and that's what we do. We buy good paint. So the car's been painted for about a year and a half, and it's beautiful. And frankly, just straight off the gun, the car was way better than it ever was from the factory. But you know, I'm always striving for that one extra little advantage, and I like to make things right. If I've come this far, I might as well take it to the very end and cut and buff this thing. So for those of you who don't know, cutting and buffing paint after the car's been painting, it's also called paint correction in the detail world. All it is basically sanding the orange peel. When you have a two-stage paint, you have a base coat, which is the color, and a clear coat, which is the clear protection layer over the top of the color. And they still make single stage, but most of the modern cars are all two-stage, base and clear. We decided to do a base clear on this car because I like the fact that you can actually go over the clear and make it as flat as you want and polish it. It's an added layer of protection for your paint. And single stage is getting harder and harder to find, and when you sand single stage, you also get color, and it makes a huge mess. But I just basically decided, hey, base clear is what I want to do on this car. It's a huge car. I believe it took 2.5 gallons to shoot this car, and that was with 3 coats of color and 3 coats of clear with PPG Valspar paint. So it was the good stuff. So anyway, yeah. So I'm going to show you guys how I cut and buff. It might not be the right way, but this is the way I do it. And I'm sure there's lots of experts out there that know much more than I do. But this channel is about giving you, the person watching this channel, confidence to do this yourself. And that's basically our position on this channel, is to help you get the confidence by watching us do stuff here in my garage, my tiny little garage, and have the confidence to do it. And if you can invest in a couple $100s worth of tools and maybe $100 in product, you can do this too. And the car doesn't have to be freshly painted. You can take an old paint job and make it 100 times better by doing what I'm about to show you. Now, I'm not going to show you the whole entire car because this video would probably be about 2 weeks long. And frankly, I have a job and other things going on, so I really can't dedicate 100% of my time to this, but I do put in a lot of work. As you watch my videos, you know I'm always doing something, and we drop 2 videos a week. So no more rambling. I'm gonna get after it, but I wanted to show you guys the stuff that I'm gonna use. So here's the car straight off the gun, and not a lot, but if you look closely, you can see some orange peel. Maybe I can get a little better look at it off this right here, so you can kind of see, hopefully, a little bit of orange peel in the paint. And the orange peel means just like the texture of the outside of an orange, where it has some dimples, I guess you could call them, and it's just not completely flat. And so that's what we're going to remove. We're going to remove the texture, that orange peel texture from the paint. And it's actually, believe it or not, it's not removing as much clear as you would think it would by sanding. And what I do is I start off with 1000 grit, so P1000, and then go to 1500. Here's what that's 2000, sorry. 1500 and 2000. So we do the entire panel, and because these panels are so big and flat, very Lincoln-like, I guess you could call it, I'm using a small flat block. This block's about 6-7 inches long by about 3 inches. Got it at the local paint supply place, and I'm using wet sandpaper, of course, and then I also use what they call a soft block, and that's what this is. This is for your corners, your outside edges, where in curves where the big block doesn't give. This actually has some give to it. See, it flexes, but it also has a good flat edge or flat face on it. So there's actually a hard side and a soft side. So I'll be using that, and then once we do the entire panel with 1000, 1500, and 2000, then we go to a polish. And 3M brand is pretty much probably the most common you're going to see out there. A lot of auto supply places have this on their shelves, like O'Reilly and the other brands. So this is, you can see the number 1 there. So that's the first step. So this is rubbing compound, Perfect It, EXAC, don't know what that means. And then you have, so that would be the first step with the polisher. And this polisher, it's a DeWalt brand. There's a billion different colors and makes of these things, but this actually doubles as a sander, but it's a polisher. And now there's a difference between a polisher and a DA. A DA does this, kind of rocks in a circle, and you can see my hand isn't spinning, it just does this. So a DA emulates what you would do by waxing your car by hand, doing that whole Mr. Miyagi action there. This actually spins in a circle with no give and no hesitation, and you can also set the RPM right there. And so some models may have the RPM settings, some may not, but the important thing is you do not want to exceed the speed that the polish is requiring. So this one requires, sorry, oh yeah, so between 1200 and 2000 maximum RPM. So you want to pay attention to that. And then for the little corner spot areas, I don't like to use this guy near the edges, and I'll show you the technique for this. This can make or break your entire day and wallet. So this is one you want to pay attention to, because I personally have screwed up a car that I just painted, and it was my wife's car of all things. Just one wrong move and I ruined the paint. Of course, it was freshly painted, so I'll go into that more, but this can make or break your job, so this you want to be real careful with. And then this little guy, one of the best little things I've ever purchased from Milwaukee. Actually, my son got this for me for Christmas, and it has 2 speeds, like kind of like a screw gun, but this one has a 0 to 2800 RPM for polishing in first gear, and then second gear takes you to 8300 RPM as a sander. So a lot of these polishers can be used as sanders as well. And if you're like me, you like to get away from the air tools and go full battery, it's less, it's a lot quieter if you're working in a neighborhood like I am, and doesn't piss as many people off. So let's see here. Okay, so first step is to get you a bucket, just a small bucket, kind of like this. This is probably a 1 gallon bucket. Squirt some Dawn in there, probably just one good full squirt with some warm water. And the Dawn actually allows the sandpaper to glide and kind of ease into the paint. If you were not to use the soap, that it would actually grab the paint and kind of skid, and that's not what you want. You kind of want to ease into getting it to go into action and start knocking that peel down. So Dawn, any sort of dish soap will work. I've also used Clay Lube, which is a little harder to find in a household, But if you have clay lube, that'll work too. It's the same concept as using a clay pad or a bar. But you can kind of see, I've done, well, let me back up for a second. I've done this hood. Rod did half of it, and then I did the other half. Mine's not as good over there, but it is pretty good. And then we did the tops of these panels. I'm not going to do anything on the side. I'm just focusing on the top of the car. And now this is just step one. We haven't done any polishing with the second step. And you can see that bottle over there upside down. That's the B, or number 2 step. So that is that's important as a second step. And then that finger foam pad over there is also part of that step, but we'll get to that. And then I've done the roof, which honestly the camera doesn't do it justice. This paint is so beautiful inside where all the flake is. It's really actually pretty awesome. But this car's not a show car, and I'm not trying to say, hey, I'm making this car into a show car. That's not what this is about. This is more about enhancing as much as possible to make the most beautiful outcome possible with the tools that you have, and that's what I'm doing here. So sometimes you don't even need to cut and buff a car. Like when we did this truck the first time, we only polished the top of the hood, or in fact the guy Rod who paints my stuff, he polished the hood and nothing else. And he's good enough with the gun that, you know, there was a little orange peel, but that was single stage, and the hood is actually the focal point of the car. So when you get into the car, you see the top of this roof here, or you walk by the car, you see, wow, what a beautiful hood. So technically you could probably just get away with just doing the top panels. There is a little bit of, I guess, diminishing thickness of the clear when you do this. So theoretically you are knocking the clear thickness down, but it's worth it to me. When you have 3 coats of it on there, there's plenty left, and you won't ever see any color because you're actually just sanding the clear. So all right, so here is our subject today. And again, I'm not going to show you the entire car because it would bore you to death and you'd probably fall asleep and never watch the channel again. But I wanted to just go through the steps that I take, and some might be wrong. Remember, I'm just a guy on YouTube who builds cars. That's it. My heart is in it. Just know that I have the best of intentions, and I just want to pass the knowledge on. So that's it. So let me get you set up here, and we'll demonstrate. Alright, so I've got a brand new piece of 1000 here on my block. Just dipped it in the bucket, and I'm just going to start doing, just like sanding, you want to do this action. This is kind of what I'm after, or straight up and down, or this way, it's fine. I wouldn't go in a circle because it's kind of hard to keep track of where you've been, but just start off slow. Now this car's got some overspray on it from yours truly, spraying the grill. If you watched the Charger build, you probably remember that. But I knew it wasn't a big deal because I was going to cut and buff this thing eventually, so it comes right off immediately with the 1000. And you want to stay away from edges as much as you can. We're just trying to get the flat areas. So I'm on the Dutchman panel, obviously here. And until I'm out in the middle, I'm going to go kind of easy and just make sure I'm just letting the sandpaper do the work. I'm not really pushing that hard down on it. I'm just going through the motions and kind of picking it up and letting soap suds get underneath there and kind of let it glide. When it starts to stick, you'll know that it's making good contact, but you want to allow that soap to kind of float it while also allowing it to hit the surface of the paint by kind of pulling it up and back like this. So I'm pulling back like this and out like that. So I'm kind of picking up the front edge, or the leading edge. Just going easy, adding water. Now this does make a big mess as far as water goes and soap. It'll dry up and then you'll see this white film in the water. And what that is your overspray or your clear orange peel coming off. And that's okay. Now if you have a 2-stage paint base clear like what this is, and you're starting to see color, you need to stop immediately. That is not good because you're into the base coat. have a rag. Clean microfiber is what I use. You want to wipe off the panel you just did, and what you're looking for is a consistent dull finish, meaning the sandpaper has touched ground or touched the paint evenly across the whole panel, and it should have no shiny spots, no streaks. You're basically just looking for consistency on the panel itself. So now this panel should, as soon as it's dry of all the moisture, it'll evaporate real quick, and then you'll see just a dull panel, hopefully. And you will start to see that orange peel start flattening out. Like, you'll be able to see it after it's been removed still, because the sandpaper hasn't quite gotten through all of it. But after 1500 and 2000, it should be a consistently dull panel through the whole length and width of it. And if you come across something dark or that doesn't look right, run your finger across it and feel like if it's standing up on the paint or if it's actually an indentation. It's really kind of hard to tell unless you're feeling on it. And if it's standing up, you'll have to use your block to actually go over it a few times to actually get it to knock down. And sometimes you're just gonna have to live with it. It's like I've got a little snake bite over there on the front left fender, and it is what it is, just part of the paint. Again, it's not a show car. It was never intended to be a show car. Just a nice driver. So it's gonna have some blemishes here and there. We have some but honestly, I've actually heard of people doing this on brand new cars, because unless you're buying a Ferrari or something, Lexus or super high-end car, it's going to come with orange peel to some degree from the factory. They all come with it for the most part, even Lexus. It just varies. I'd say American cars, trucks, that sort of thing comes with orange peel all the time. And people will, when you see an ad of a truck for sale, paint corrected, that means that they knocked the paint down or they knocked the clear down to get rid of that peel. So be warned that paint is going to be a little less thick. And on a daily driver, I would prefer just to keep the paint the way it is. Because let's face it, all these companies that are making these cars are shooting as the least amount of paint possible to save money. So essentially you are thinning the clear. But on a car like this, where it's never going to sit outside overnight, maybe it might, but it'll have a cover on it. But this isn't really a daily. As much as I love to drive it, it's really not my daily driver. It's just not much fun to drive when traffic is just sitting there and you can't see around anybody. And I'm used to driving a truck that you can see over. So okay, so 1000. This is what it looks like up close, in case you're not able to see. So you can see how it's fully evaporated right there. That's kind of the first kind of what you're going to see with the 1000. And as you can see, as it evaporates, it leaves this. And honestly, if you run your finger over the peel parts, it looks like reverse orange peel now. It's actually smooth to the touch. You can't feel anything. There might be a little something there, here and there, but after the next step, you probably won't feel it. So let's move to the next step, and I'll give you guys a different vantage point now. Let me grab some 1500. 1500 now. Now this is going to feel the same when you first start. It's going to really want to get traction on that paint because you're basically with a finer grain, obviously, and it's achieving traction. Same process, just go slow, make sure the block is flat. Yeah, it keeps getting easier and easier. See, that's how distractions occur. So, it's another good reason just to do small sections and make sure you don't miss any areas. Alright, so we're finally sanding with 2000. You're going to have the same feeling as you had with the first two grits. It's going to feel like it's getting traction. And you just ease up the pressure on the block just to keep it moving. And once you go over it, it'll actually smooth out and get better. Alright, here we go. So this is going to give us, this is the sauce, the number one. It's going to give us the teeth that we need to turn this clear into gloss. And I would caution you on not using, oh man, hold on. Back to what I was saying. So I would caution you, my biggest mistake of using this stuff was putting too much down. And now I'm just doing just little drops, because what it does is it loads up the wheel or the buffer, and it makes it, you're basically just wasting product at that point. So this is also important. If you have a buffer, or with your buffer, you don't want the cord rubbing on the side of the car, so you want to pull the cord over one shoulder, preferably not the shoulder that's dropped, and kind of have it this way. It's where the cord's coming over my left shoulder. You can't see it, but maybe you can now. This cord's over my left shoulder, and it goes kind of under my right forearm when it's being used. And so now I'm going to run this outside wheel, just kind of smear like this. I know there's a million buffing videos on YouTube. This one is mine. So Take my advice if you will, but I am not an expert. I just do the stuff. So, all right. So now I'm gonna start slow, just by smearing it a little bit more, just to prevent flinging. Really, that's mostly why I do this. Just smearing it around, getting that even coverage of all the product that we put down. And when I'm using this polisher, if you draw a line down the center of the wheel or the machine, and you only contact the paint with the right side of the polisher bonnet, and if you use the right side, you're less likely, and you always, if you're facing an edge, you always want to be coming off the edge and not spinning the wheel at the edge. Hopefully that makes sense. But if you're spinning a wheel towards an edge or a raised edge, it could rip the paint, and that's exactly what I did on my wife's car, and it was embarrassing and expensive. So, and when you're doing this is the most aggressive polish that I know of, and this is the most aggressive procedure that makes the biggest difference. And so you really want to pump the brakes and not go too hard, and get the paint hot. You always want to move the polisher while it's moving. You want to set your RPM. That's super important, because the polish is good for a specific RPM range. This is like 1200 to 1800, I think. But yeah, so I'm going to be on the right hand side, and with that I'm not going to be able to get into the corners or on the stainless. So there's going to be a bit of a gap or a border around the whole thing, and that's where my little mini polisher comes in. So you just gotta understand what you can and can't do with this big machine, and just take it slow. And so the question is now, do I need to add more polish? Well, the answer lies in the polishing bonnet. The bonnet is still damp with product. So if you pull those fibers up like that, it exposes all that product. And you really don't need to reload, or you can reload, but just reload small. So I'll do that just for fun. And only put polish where you could actually get the machine. Otherwise, you're just wasting it. So I'm gonna do that. Alright, so now you can see my little area here. Which basically just stayed away from the edge with the big machine. But now what we can do is get into the smaller areas with the smaller machine. And this doesn't create near as much heat as the big machine, but it has the same principles to it. We're just going to use half of the wheel. Alright, so did a little more polishing, still in step 1, or A, I guess you could say, about the first compound. But this is how you check to see if you missed any peel or any spots where you just didn't get enough polish and heat on. This part might be kind of hard to tell on the camera, but you can kind of tell when you have a light shining in at this direction. It's really the only way to tell where you're at. And then of course you go on that side and do the same thing. We are somewhere in between good enough and perfection, if I do say myself. And I'm thrilled to just be doing this because I didn't have the balls to do it until I had one last lesson on doing this. And here I am relaying it to you like 2 days after I got the courage to start doing it. So take that for what you will, I guess. And so the point here is a lot of people stop here just with the one polishing compound, and it shows really well. But step 2 is what I'm going to go to, and what that'll do is it'll take any sort of sanding scratches or any other imperfections out of the paint. But honestly, this looks good enough to wax to me, so that's why a lot of people will just go ahead and put some wax on it, seal it up, and drive it. But just for the sake of this video, I'm going to take it, well, I shouldn't say for this video, because I would just be doing this regardless of whether I'm filming or not, but I'm just that guy, I guess you could say. But I know when to quit and before I screw up something. So, but right now is not that time. So I'm going to swap the pad on the buffer. Take this guy, put it where I'm going to wash it, and then get it in the air. And I'm going to get my second step out, which I'm almost out of. So now this has a finger. I call this a foam finger pad. This is pretty typical for body shops. And the thing is you don't want to be in the sun like I am right now, so I'm just going to do a small area. The sun keeps peeking through the clouds. It started off as a rainy day, but I'm going to go ahead and just do right here in the center where you can watch. Again, minimize the amount of product you're using. I'm just going to waste it. But I would recommend being out of the sun with this as well. It just takes more effort to remove it once the sun gets it. Same process, spread it around with your pad till you start before you start spinning it. And spin it slow. Same thing, you can be on the right side of the wheel or the left side. You can just make sure you're not going against any edges. But the foam pad is a lot more forgiving. This is not an instant death pad. This is, if you were to use this pad with that compound, the first one, it would take you 3 times as long because it's just not as aggressive. So this is more for fine-tuning your paint. I wouldn't recommend doing it with this much sunlight. Just makes it harder on you, really. You can. I would just get an easy up or a little shelter, those little pop-up shelters. That would be ideal. But I should be turning this car around just so I can keep going. But I'm gonna call it a day here pretty soon. But there you have it. It's really pretty straightforward at this point. Just want to, the more polishing you do, the more of that flake you're gonna see come out in the paint. It's pretty cool. It sparkles quite a bit. Hopefully you guys can see that. But I am happy with that. And of course, there's always a mess. But I'll finish doing number 2 step. But I just wanted to show you guys this process. I've been afraid to do it. I have done it on crappier cars, but never anything this nice. And now I'm doing it, and I'm just passing along that to you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you picked up something from this video, and let me know what you think or how bad I did in the comments. Thanks for watching.